I'm Noah Breuer. I'm an American artist from Berkeley, California, and I teach printmaking at University at Buffalo. Generally, my approach to making artwork is I work with an archive of documents or photographs or correspondences, and I make drawings and scans and think about my relationship to the original material, be it a writing or an image or a printed piece of fabric. And then I go to the studio and create something new that responds to it in some way, and usually in a very personal way that makes it about my relationship between me and that archive. And the result of that can be prints on paper or fabric or installations or some kind of sculpture even, or artist books. So here for this project in Montreal, I'm presenting work that's all examining the visual legacy of Breuer and Sons, which is my family's textile printing business that was originally in Vienna, but also Czech Bohemia. So the company was founded by my grandfather's grandfather in very early 1900s. And they made all sorts of printed textiles. So it's domestic textiles, table linens, bedspreads, curtains, tablecloths, and mostly printed, usually block printed. And they exported all throughout Europe pre-war. So all throughout Europe. So unfortunately, this story ends with my family having to leave Europe because they were all Jewish, and the factory was seized by Nazis and Nazi collaborators as a part of the Nazi Aryanization in 1938 or 39. And the material that they made was almost entirely lost. About 6 or 7 years ago, I became aware of a archive of swatch books and some little bits of drawings and printed material designs for some of these tablecloths and original linens. And they are all located in Prague in the Czech Republic. So I went there and got a lot of good scans and photographs of some of these original documents and also original pieces of fabric and also designs. And my project here, and is manifested by some of the work in this show, has been to resurrect some of this work and make it again. And in a way, all of the work in here is, it's all very different. I'm not making fabric to sell. I'm not making bedspreads. I'm making fine artwork using some of that same designs. So all of this archive has become this piece of primary source material from which I've created prints on paper, wood blocks and screen prints, cyanotypes on fabric, and most recently, paper pulp castings. So behind me, these are all cotton paper that's been cast and molded into what you see behind me and dyed. And I really like the connection between the cotton fabric and to the original material, which would be a linen or cotton tablecloth. And these animals in this show has 7 animals that are all little tiny motifs from tablecloths or bedspreads or napkins or handkerchiefs or scarves. And I chose to pull those animals out and recreate them as these paper pulp castings, partly because I was really just visually attracted to them, but also because there's something, they represent something quite whimsical and sort of old-fashioned about the designs, but also I think there's perhaps a little bit of a metaphor of an endangered species and some kind of, they're all very innocent and yeah, okay. I'm also in this show presenting glass objects. There's 4 glass objects in the show that each one directly references a design that was meant to be a circular tablecloth. And so in this show, there are 4 circles. They're smaller than a table, but they're each self-standing glass pieces that look like, they sort of look like wedding cakes now. But they're meant to represent tablecloths, and they're self-standing. But in their present resurrected form, that they've changed into, they almost look like someone threw a fabric over a table as if to cover it for storage or because it's not used anymore. And some of them are even a little ghostly, and they're a little spectral. There's a bit of an allusion to a death shroud. So I think that's a good, useful metaphor here as well. Yeah, that's what's in the show. I'll say one more thing. There's also a swatch book in the show that is a more direct reference to, it's a 24-page swatch book of woodblock prints that I created that are very, to different degrees, direct reproductions and sort of my own whimsical reproductions of some original textile work. And the swatch book fans out like a Pantone swatch book. And the experience I want for the audience is to be able to pick up the swatch book and have this experience that I had in the Czech archives of the factory of paging through these fabric samples. And it's like a very active act of revealing and finding new colors and textures and designs, and I had a lot of fun doing that, and I want to share that with the audience as well. And hopefully, unfortunately, the shroud of the Holocaust looms large over this work, but I also want some of these pieces to be a celebration of the visual legacy of the factory, and not just a reminder of the tragedy of the Jews of Europe, but some kind of honoring of their work and their labor and the results of all of that hard work.